Appreciate everybody coming here this Wednesday morning. We have two speakers today. First one is going to be the Director of the Community Relations Committee, Willie Ratchford, and then followed up by our Police Chief, Chief Kirkputney. We're going to be discussing bridging the difference. Start out by introducing Mr. Ratchford. Sir.
Thank you. And good morning. For a number of years now, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Community Relations Committee has worked closely with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department to build positive police community relations here in our community. And we have a really great effort that's coming up beginning tomorrow called Bridging the Difference. Whenever there are issues in this community around police relations and how police get along with citizens and residents of this community, when things don't go well, we find ourselves very often talking at each other. But this event tomorrow is going to give us an opportunity to begin to talk to one another. We're looking at the possibility of using conversation as a way to build trust, support, and accountability, not only for police officers, but for citizens as well, because it is a two-way street. The City of Charlotte in recent months has started a diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative. And in part, we see that this effort to improve police community relations is a part of that actual process. Diversity, as we see it, means being invited to the party. Inclusion means being invited to the party and asked to dance. But equity is about removing those structural and those institutional barriers that might prevent access for certain groups in our community. And so if we deal with this issue of equity through these conversations and through this partnership that we have with the police department, we think that we will automatically become a community that values diversity and one that values inclusion, because by removing the barriers, you don't have to concentrate on diversity or equity or inclusion, because it becomes a natural part of who we are. We have about 150 people who have RSVP'd for the event at Johnson C. Smith tomorrow afternoon beginning at 6:00 p.m. We're going to have a panelist who's going to provide some conversation and respond to some questions that we think are relevant to various issues that are going on today, as well as issues that are related to support and accountability for police. And then we're going to give our audience an opportunity to have some conversation with one another, because that's important. And then they will also get an opportunity to engage the panel after they have finished talking. We think that this is going to be a great event. It will be a continuation of the collaboration and the partnership between the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department and the Community Relations Committee. And we're looking forward to bringing this community together to build community around conversation.
I really don't know why I'm up here. He covered it all. All I'm going to do is invite a few more people, because we have capacity for about 5 more who want to come and be a part of this initial conversation tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at Johnson C. Smith. The next iteration of this series is going to be December 6th, El Camino, where we have the sheriff-elect who's going to be a part of a conversation around topics that are very specific and of interest to Latinos, immigration. So this is one conversation more about policing and community relations, the support versus the accountability, and then we're going to move into some meatier topics that are more relevant to various areas of the community. What we're trying to do, though, is bring everybody, diverse opinions together. There's no secret. I've made no bones about it. This is our ground game. This is how we prepare for the RNC in 2020. We know we're a divided country. In a lot of ways, we can be a divided city. We're trying to show that there's some common ground across all perspectives. What are your questions for us at this point about bridging the difference?
Chief, I guess my question is, what does this have to do with the RNC? I understand getting ground game in Charlotte, but is the problem for RNC going to be Charlotte or people coming into Charlotte?
Well, if we don't do this right, it could be both. As I said, this country, the city is a reflection of the country. What we see nationally impacts us locally. Don't make any mistake that we're a very united city across all demographics. In some situations, we're not, especially when it comes to police accountability. So we want to attack this concept, this conversation head on, find our common ground so that when people do descend upon our city, it's very easy to see those outliers and we can address them. But right now what we're trying to do is get we call it harden the target. And what did it say? Soften the rhetoric. That's cute. I didn't come up with that one. But that's what we're trying to do here so that we're not as divided as a city. So when people come from the outside, they can see what we have to celebrate and we could talk about the behavior that we're not going to tolerate.
Chief, how are you recruiting people to come if, they might not feel like the police department wants to listen to them?
Well, I don't know who they are. We've been talking to people all over the city for decades, and what I'll tell you is we're gonna live stream some of it. They can log on. They can see that these conversations are going to be well controlled. They're going to be contentious, I suspect, but controlled. We're not here to vilify any perspective. The other piece of it is Veterans Day, Monday. We had over 200 young people come out and see the movie The Hate You Give with our officers. So if people are afraid to engage with us and have conversations with us, this just hadn't been my experience. People are willing to tell you, give you, I'll try to say, constructive criticism in all these forums, and I don't see that changing. What I do want to do is engage, especially coming in December, with communities who are trying to figure out whether or not that trust is deep enough in those communities, especially when we talk about topics around immigration in December.
Chief, have police officers gotten any response or feedback from this neighborhoods about the RNC coming? Is that going to be part of the conversation tomorrow? Have you heard of tension out there about that?
No, I haven't. That's why we're starting so far in advance. What we're trying to do is, again, have volunteers, ambassadors for our city who can also greet people to our welcoming city, be a reflection of who we are as a city, but also be on the lookout for things that we need to address as law enforcement proactively. We don't want things to escalate. That's the whole point of the conversation. Having it here, getting our community ready for what could happen in 2020, but also getting volunteers who can help us with this type of work when the NBA All-Star comes in February, when we host the CIAA again, and also when we have the ACC tournament. So this is work that will be ongoing and it's work that's necessary, but we also want ambassadors of our city to volunteer, seeing that we have something here to celebrate the common ground that is our Queen City.
Chief, looking to what's happening right now in the city and everything, with bridging that gap between the community and the police department, one of the big things right now is school safety and all of that, breaching that bridge as well for kids to feel comfortable coming to the police. I mean, what do you think the community needs to do more when it comes to school safety as well?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of the superintendent. He's about to start a series of community forums. He's invited me as of 30 minutes ago to be a part of that conversation. I've been very clear in what I think needs to happen. I'm happy to see the county's putting resources. They're also assessing a lot of the recommendations that I put forward. But what I think is the comprehensive solution is going to be making sure from the moment they wake up, our parents are talking to them, engaging them, making sure if there's some things that that are of a concern that they need to let administrators know, they do so. But what I do see, I take great comfort in the fact that we've seen a couple of successes where students and administrators have been proactively engaging students and preventing violence from escalating. That's happened a couple of times already just this week.
And not even talking about CMS, but just other community organizations really stopping some of the violence and everything, talking to kids. How important do you think that is going forward to just, help everyone stay
I think
safe?
it's extremely important. Our houses of worship have a role to play. We can't just lay this at the superintendent's feet and at CMS's feet. I think that'd be unfair, to be quite frank with you, because some of these issues start prior to them getting to school. So what I just asked our community to do is do what these young people have been doing, do what administrators over the last week have been doing. Look out for behavior that they see could escalate, notify the authorities so we can come in, communicate, de-escalate, and resolve the issue before it leads to violence. Just got to be vigilant. Got to have the courage to say something to somebody who can actually deal with those issues, especially around gun violence.
Chief, how many conversations were you having?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. I would imagine it'd be at least once a month, but now that we're connecting with the superintendent to have the school safety conversations, it might even be more than that. But at least once a month is what we want to do moving forward. Bridging the difference, that's correct.
Are you gonna is your goal to bring people to have an integrated conversation, I
Sure.
guess, so to speak, you know what I mean? Like if you go into, pick a neighborhood, you'd hope
Let me tell you this. I've been saying this. I can go into a predominantly black church and have a conversation, and we can talk about support versus accountability for police and have some common ground. I can go to a Rotary Club and do the same thing. What I see is missing here is having both of those groups come together, engage in that conversation, talk about the differences of opinion, and look for that common ground that we're trying to bridge. I think that is the difference that we're trying to make here this time, and we're happy to be a part of, at least a catalyst of that movement.
What do you say to people who might say, I've got bigger issues in my neighborhood, and while this all sounds wonderful and idyllic, in my neighborhood, I'm dealing with some hands-on real-life issues that I can't be a part of.
I say what I always say, connect with your captain in your division. There are 13 captains all over the city. If you're connected with your community officers, you know we're going to be working to alleviate whatever issues you have that are crime-related. We're down in crime for a reason, because the community's alerting us and we can be proactive. So I just say engage with our officers, whether it be in this forum or any other forum. And if you have significant problems, you need to let us know, because what I've seen is our people are very willing to engage and address those concerns, whatever they may be, large like this one or smaller community type issues.
Chief, it might be obvious to law enforcement and some others, but how can this, how is difference of opinion a public safety issue? Can you kind of connect the dots for people?
For support versus accountability?
Yeah, like
Sure.
the community events you're hosting,
Here's an example I'll give you. What I see and what I've said is, I'm skeptical of people who support police action regardless. Like, they jump to the conclusion that it's right without knowing the details. I also take issue with people who are on the other end of the spectrum who say regardless of what happens, they already know the outcome and it is negative on the part of the police. I think we have to, the whole point of the conversation, let's slow it down. Let's talk about these differences of opinion. When there's not a lot of controversy and emotion, let's see that there's some common ground, because what I think we're going to get the takeaway to be is everybody wants to have accountability. But also, to get there, we need a bit more support, especially in those communities that need us most.
All right, thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you. As always,
All right, as the chief mentioned, yesterday, we're going to be starting the conversation, and he mentioned that there is still some availability for those to attend. If you're interested in attending, we'd ask you to go ahead and register, and you can do that at the website, bridgingthedifferencenc.com. You can get information about not only tomorrow night's event, but also future events, Chief mentioned we're going to host these about once a month. Some of the upcoming topics are access, opportunity, bias, and privilege, and we'll be hosting, like I said, these over the next couple of months. If you cannot attend tomorrow, we ask you to go ahead and follow us and look for us on Facebook at our CMPD, where we will be live streaming this event. And you can also ask questions and try to engage with us there. And finally, if you can't or don't have access to Facebook and are interested in following, you can go to Twitter and make sure you use the hashtag BridgeCLT or follow that hashtag, because we'll be doing that. BridgingTheDifferenceNC.com is your place to go for information. So we appreciate that. Look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow night, and have a great day. Thank you.